One. Uh-oh. Of course, what don't I have ready? Chat.
Chat?
Not Chad. There's no chat.
Chad. Chad's not ready.
Okay.
Chad's not ready.
It's funny. It said I went to go launch YouTube to launch chat and it said no connection. I'm like, really? No, that's a lie. Hey everybody. Not Your Average Show coming back on the air. What's going on, Corey?
What's happening? What's happening? Yeah, no.
Music, as always, from Harris Heller.
Harris, the man, legend.
Are you ready?
Yeah, sure, man.
5, 3. Howdy, everybody. Welcome. Not Your Average Show. Corey and Mike back with you. It is, what is it, February 3rd, 2022. Sir, how are you today?
Doing swell.
Well.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, Thursday, Friday coming up tomorrow. Yep. I'm doing fine. Yeah. How about you, man?
We're both wearing blue a lot.
Well, I had planned another color, but as we had mentioned in last week's show, we have a new addition to the family, and it got dirty. So this is what I have on now.
There you go. Yeah, this was clean. I drew it. I drew it on. I was like, Before this, I was wearing a Nike t-shirt. Maybe we should just wear t-shirts from now on. Anyhow, we're both wearing blue. Welcome, everybody. We got a lot for you on the show tonight. Koenigsegg Quark, little tiny engine that could. That thing's going to be pretty wicked.
That's pretty cool.
Joby is flying over the bay. We also got for you the Valkyrie Guardian / Eagle, a couple of eVTOLs we're going to talk about in that high-speed VTOL competition that we talked about months ago. Looks like we're crashing a space station 2031. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And then Nautilus Cargo from Volatus. No, wait, hold on. We're going to screw this one up, I guarantee you, because this one's got a weird name. Volatus, right? Volatus.
Yeah. Volatus.
Volatus,
Probably,
anyhow.
Yeah.
Interesting tech, stuff like that. And, unfortunately, we're pulling our podcast from Spotify.
Oh.
We're not even on Spotify.
Yeah, no.
We don't even have enough people to be.
No.
We don't even have enough people to be on Spotify, let alone join the foray of silliness in the world. But hey, anyhow, here's the free voices, right? I guess I don't know.
Yeah, it's a crazy world.
Nuts. What else do we want to talk about? Anything else on the? Went to the. Okay, so some of you have joined us because maybe you saw our Rolex short this week. Traditionally, Corey goes with me to the Rolex. He didn't this year, but I still went, and it was good. It was cold. I got a nice video out there for the channel, so if you guys want, check out the short that we did. Acura won. Wasn't exactly my choice for the winner, but did you watch the closing laps at all?
I saw some clips. I didn't get to see. I know it was really
The two Porsches went at it in pro class, man, and that was some serious racing. And if that's any indication that, by the way, they were going to have, what was it? LMHD was going to be the new prototype class, right? I think that's what they were calling it. But the day before the race, IMSA said, nope, that's gone. We're bringing back GTP. So next year is going to be the big year that we've been waiting for. It got delayed a year because of COVID, which means Porsche, Audi, Acura, Cadillac. I think Mazda's coming back. I mean, it's going to be
Mazda.
Mazda. I didn't say Mazda. I said Mazda.
Mazda. No, I said
from Minnesota. Mazda. You gonna have some sody pop?
Yeah.
Pop. Bubbly, whatever. So it's gonna be pretty interesting. If you guys get a chance, check it out. It was a good day at the racetrack. It was cold when my buddy Kevin was cold, but there was some good racing. I was surprised, but there was an ample amount of crashes. We got covered in dirt by one of the Porsches that went off at about 3:30 in the afternoon, and it literally.
That was hairpin, or what was that? That was hairpin.
That was after the hairpin to the right-hander, the sweeping right, just past the sweeping right before the left. On the infield, and man, he ate it. Like, we were standing at the wall, and somebody drove by, and they either put a wheel off or it was like there was like a little bit of smoke. We were like, oh, because you could see it as it went past, and I was like, wow, that's weird. And this guy was about 4 cars behind him, and I think what that started was a slight chain reaction where he saw enough smoke, and he was far enough behind where he thought that there might have been a little bit of trouble in the corner. And as soon as he came through, he was sideways in a very odd section of the track where you don't normally lose it, and he just buried it right into the wall alongside us. And literally, the dust and the smoke was flying up in the air. And actually, I don't think I have that video, or maybe I do. Hold on a second. Give me a second. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna pull it up, because as we were standing there looking at it, it happened, and I was actually on TV because of it, which is kind of interesting.
Oh yeah.
But hold on, let me see if I can find that video real quick. I didn't think we were gonna play it, but oh yeah, here it is. Okay, so this is the like instantaneous video moment right after the wreck. And it's actually kind of cool. I mean, we could just play this for a second here, because unless it's gonna crash. No, here we go. All right, check this out. So this is really directly after the wreck, and I'm sitting there, and the smoke that you're seeing go by is let's see, pick out the audio. The smoke that you're seeing go by is literally just from the smoke from the wreck, and he's still sitting there just kind of smoldering as cars go by. And there was a lot of carbon fiber that got thrown over the wall, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, that was the wreck right there. And fun times were had by all. That was the end of their day.
Yeah.
So that was neat.
Exciting.
Yeah, exciting times. So yeah, neat.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Always a good time.
So tons of video from the Rolex. Got a lot more videos that we're probably going to go ahead and throw out there for you guys. But hey, it was interesting. Off the cuff. So without further ado, I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to pass it to Corey, and he's going to talk about the Koenigsegg Quark. Are you ready? Taking a sip of water there?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right,
yeah, I'm
sweet.
Good.
And so without further ado, he's going to give us, again, a little bit of a format change, so you might notice a difference, but he's going to go ahead and throw us an intro. We're going to talk about it. Here you go, Corey. It's all you, brother.
Yeah. But bam. So yeah, so this next one comes to us from, I got it from Road and Track, and it's the Koenigsegg. They basically unveiled their Quark electric motor, and so it's a motor that weighs just 66 pounds and puts out some impressive figures. And the thing about it is, it kind of was they had to re-engineer some basically electric engines because of their Gamera hypercar, and that's a whole nother thing. But that thing's quite impressive. But the numbers that they put out, they were talking, they had changed different power plants. And if you guys keep track of Koenigsegg at all, you know they are pretty good at innovating in their technology or their engineering. Oh, yeah. And so the idea here is the long and the short of it is, if you take a look at the picture, it's quite a small form factor. Really? And again, coming in just at 63 pounds, putting out 335 horsepower, 443 pounds of torque. But the kind of the thing I wanted to take that if you got any like engineering kind of people out there, it's striking a good balance between the two form factors of electric motor engineering, axial flow or radial flow flux. And I have another article down below if you want to look at exactly like what that means. But it's pretty cool because they're kind of combining some concepts that were not always combined to give it a leg up in generating a good amount of power, but also a good amount of torque. And so Mike's going to take it away with some other like applications. But I mean, you guys know we talk about cars, we talk about aviation, there's a bunch of cool places that they could go with this, or this tech could go. So what do you think,
man?
Well,
that's the best thing. First of all, it's the tech, right? It's the weight of this thing is, what is it, 60 pounds, right? So the weight to horsepower ratio, so we're talking 300 horsepower, and I think it can do 300 horsepower for a 20-second burst, roughly, right?
Right.
Around 300. Wait, let me make sure. I just want to make sure this is correct. So this one was the Mike's gonna have to search for it in the article. Is 335 horsepower, okay,
right,
and 443 pounds of torque for 20 seconds. Okay, so here's the thing. I wonder if there's a happy medium, because after that it puts out 134 horsepower and 184 foot-pounds of torque, right? Which you can just run on for a long time, and then it can come back and do another spurt. So my question is there a happy medium to where this thing could be adapted to do like 200 horsepower and then do 175 the whole way through? Is there a place where this thing could do that? Or because that kind of gives me that happy medium of what other applications this is going to be put in. Because as you drop the information about, yeah, it could be in aerospace, it could be in other applications,
Right. Oh yeah.
but really
Yep.
there's a sweet spot at 200 and 175, I would say, especially at that weight. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is kind of the first thing we know about this design that they're putting out, and we know, I mean, they're going to continue to innovate and do some other stuff with it. And kind of going right off of the backside of that, talking about something else that they unveiled, and the same general idea is something called the Terrier. And the Terrier from Koenigsegg is two quarks mated together with some planetary gears, but also having its own onboard inverter. So it's a more powerful package. And so this Terrier, two Quarks with an inverter in there, puts out 670
Jeez.
horsepower at 811 foot-pounds. And that whole package, obviously no batteries, but that whole package there is just 187 pounds. So this is pretty interesting. And I was thinking as I was looking at this, I'm like, this is literally drop-in swap
Oh
for
my God.
EVs who want to have some crazy numbers. And it's pretty impressive. I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, the places they could go with this after that,
Back in time.
some interesting things here. Well,
88 miles
yeah,
an
obviously
hour.
some really, really cool stuff with that too. But yeah, it's
Can
pretty
I put one in
interesting.
a motorcycle? Okay, look, if you could put one in a motorcycle, first of all, for a 20-second blast, I don't think you could hold on for 300 horsepower unless you were literally doing something in a like literally in a drag bike, right? That's just the frame that you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to have
yeah.
this
With
on.
the gear,
Yeah,
tricycle gear
but
back there.
at
Yeah.
only 187 pounds and 670 horsepower and 811 torque, foot-pound of torque, forget about it. This thing is dragster ready. If you put 4 of those together or 2 of them together, right? Just think of the things you could do suddenly. You have basically a little over a 360-pound 4-engine device, and if you could stuff this in a helicopter, that you could alter those torque numbers a little bit, right? And have one
Yes.
that would be basically a standby or redundant power source, or run them in some sort of lean mode together all the time, these 4 motors, and then if one should go out, you got 20 seconds of life-saving power there that means the difference between finding a good landing spot and not. And that's a real application where this could really go into an electric helicopter, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing I thought about this too, is that they've really kind of capitalized on the idea of form factor, but
Yeah.
also still getting the torque numbers they want out. Because we know Koenigsegg, they're really again hypercars. They even mentioned in the article that they kind of designed this to get the car moving, to kind of
Yeah.
get that burst of speed you need, low speed, which is again torque. If you know anything about getting cars moving quickly, it's that low end torque you need, not just straight power. And that lends itself quite well to, as you said, helicopter aviation. You need, a good amount of steady and powerful torque numbers on the rotating components in helicopter
Sure.
applications. And I'll kick it back to you here in just a second, but I wanted to mention there's a graph they also have, and it's on just a single quark power versus torque specs. You can see basically that the 20-second peak on torque and power goes all the way up, and they mate at 600 newton meters of torque right at 4,000 RPM. And this is the 20-second burst. So again, keeping in mind it's electric. If you had a capacitor with the requisite amount of energy, yes, you could certainly use it as an emergency to get that amount of torque you would need for at least 20 seconds in this case for single application. And seems like it would be really fit that bill pretty
Oh
well.
yeah, I mean, so look, they engineered this thing to do the right job at the right time at the right place, right? Literally, they've timed it for 20 seconds. It's a great pulse right off the line, like you said, for the Gamera, which is going to be their supercar that's going to integrate into this, right? However, it really does play to the fact that there's other applications, just like you said, that are highly sought after, right? I could see people standing in line if they wanted a traditional quadcopter design like a Phantom 4, putting one of these on each corner, and your initial torque liftoff
Oh
numbers,
my.
right? Yeah, I
Oh
mean,
my.
look, or
You're talking like eVTOLs, not
yeah,
even like bigger cargo quads
cargo
and stuff.
quads, something of that nature. And then the other part of it is, what about a real racing quad, right? A real one like we've seen for the one that we covered last week. Something like this type of power system going into it. So basically, if you had like your DRS kind of situation in a Formula One race, where if you needed that
Yep.
extra
Yep.
20 seconds of passing power, whatever it is, and you get down a, this quote unquote straightaway, blast off, and bam, here you are doing literally 3 times the speed you were before. Now, retreating blade stall notwithstanding, or whatever other situation we're going to find aerodynamically, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, hats off to who do you think's really got the advantage now? Is Rimac really the top dog really in EV development when we're talking about these super speeds, or is Koenigsegg really proving their weight in the fact that they're not only just taking electric in one stage and making it a one-stage application for their vehicle, but also producing something else that has wide appeal that they could make as a sellable object outside their supercar?
Yeah, I do wonder what Koenigsegg really is looking to do as far as sharing this tech with other applications outside of their automobiles. They're always an interesting company to keep track of because, again, they do things they make things happen that you're kind of like, wow, I didn't actually think they could really fit that in that form factor or get that amount of power out of that type size power plant or whatever it is. And it's always interesting to watch what they're coming up with. But again, as they mentioned a while back, and of course, now we're covering it now, they said, hey, hybrid powertrains is the way they want to go, because if you know about Koenigsegg, they're not going to get rid of their internal combustion power plants. At least they haven't mentioned they're going to. So pairing this with a amazing output ICE engine is just a no-brainer, really, at least for them, right? For certain. But yeah, I'd be interested to see where people can leverage this tech for other
forget about the
applications.
fact that they have a 3-cylinder. It's also going to be making 600 horsepower, right? So they're really not stopping that level of innovation. They're giving you a little bit of everything on the forefront, which I think it does make it the perfect adaptation of what our electric/ICE future and hypercar future should look like at the moment. Right, you're going to get the best of both worlds, and that thing's going to go 248 miles an hour. So, I mean, what else could you expect?
Yeah.
So, hey.
Yeah, and it's a 4-door, isn't it?
Yeah,
The
and it's gorgeous. And it's not ugly either. Well, it's not a 4-door; it's a 4-seater, but it's a 1-door design, I think, or maybe it was a hybrid design door kind of thing. Kind of neat. All right, well, I am fascinated by this. Cool. When you sent it to me earlier in the week, I literally was like, wow, like you can't. You just wow,
that's cool.
It's like game changer. There's stuff out in the tech world that still could be game changer, and this is game changer. So,
yep. So if you're done, thanks so much for that. Please like, share, subscribe. We're always looking for these kind of cool little things to share with you guys, whether it's from automobiles or aerospace, actual cars, and obviously aviation. We're still into that too. So thanks for all the support, and we'll continue to bring you what we find. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Awesome find. Again, can't say enough about that type of technology. It's really going places.
Ooh, burn. The douche.
Anyhow, all right. Up next.
Yes.
My notes. Oh, okay. So this one is the Valkyrie. Let's restart this over. Right. Anyhow, this one comes to you from New Atlas. It's actually really interesting design, so that's what really piqued my interest here. It's called the Valkyrie, and it's basically the U.S. Air Force that also has been backing Jet Up Terra, put them into the same category now. That's actually backed them for their high-speed VTOL aircraft thing, right? And this is pretty cool for the AFWorks. This thing is basically a competitor to the V-22 Osprey. It's pretty nice looking. They have a 2 combination here. It's called the Eagle/Guardian. The Guardian one actually has a lifting power of, I think, about 8,200 pounds. And, look, the only thing I can really say about this thing is it's kind of interesting that it looks cool, but there's a little video here we're going to play for you, all right? So we're going to check this one out. Let me just bring this back to us here. I'm going to set the video up, and just a quick intro on the actual thing that the company has provided. And let's go ahead and we'll roll the video for that one. Here you go. If it ever wants to play. There we go.
The Valkyrie Systems Aerospace Eagle Hoverjet, the first in a new class of cost-effective, autonomous air, sea, and land vehicles that are amphibious and float like hovercraft, as well as fly like a jet fighter. The Eagle holds several key advantages over surface-based amphibious vehicles currently in use. It has the capacity for vertical takeoff and landing, whether on land, water, or rough terrain. What makes the Eagle unique is the patented thrust vector control system, proprietary technology that enables it to operate in almost any terrain and/or adverse conditions. Stealth design with advanced sensor suites deliver crucial data in order to mitigate risk and threat detection, increasing survivability. Distributed aperture radar, along with hyperspectral sensors, detect threats, mines, secure terrain, and help establish a safe and secure foothold. The Eagle, a product of over 25 years of engineering, testing, and refinement, comprising 7 generations of technological advancement. Now, introducing the Guardian, the next level of UAV technology.
All right, your thoughts, man. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's one of these companies that looks like they've been doing stuff for a while, as they mentioned, 7 generations at least of the Eagle product, the smaller one. And I admit, before you mentioned this for the show, I hadn't heard of these company. And maybe not so surprising, a lot of these companies, they operate and they're doing a lot of government work. Obviously, these UAVs and these devices or these platforms are targeted towards military applications, of course, easy to see. And so, having not really followed that particular market segment, and in the past,
right,
it is what it is. But anyway, moving on with kind of like the device itself, it's certainly interesting to see that they're really in the sphere of the Air Force Works kind of target.
Sure.
Things we've covered before. Air Force Works. We've talked to a lot of other companies that are in that same kind of competition. But being the case, we don't know exactly what's going on with their product, right? That's why this is all kind of animated, and we don't see much else. And their website has some figures, but not like shows us exactly what's going on. So it's another one of these where, again, like even like Jet Terra, they're doing cool stuff, but we don't know exactly because they do have some interesting contracts with, or possible contracts with the government. So it is what it is.
It is.
But yeah, amphibious too. That's kind of cool. They didn't show it landing on water, but they say it's amphibious.
Well, that's amphibious enough. Well, look, so here's a couple little specs here that they throw out here, right? Here's the Guardian hover jet, crew of 1, operational guide, empty weight 4,200 pounds, useful load of about 2,000, max takeoff weight 1,200 pounds, big power plant in those bad boys. Pratt and Whitney's is what it's looking like. So we're going a little bit off the traditional of the eVTOL kind of thing here. They got an endurance of about 15 hours with max fuel, 340 miles per hour. Now, they did mention in the video, they said that it does hover like a hovercraft, yet it was in the belly of a hovercraft.
Yeah, it was in a hovercraft. I was like, okay.
I was like, so you don't get any extra points in my book. If you're going to turn around and tell me that you're amphibious, then I want to see this thing float or be a hovercraft. And in-ground effect hover just over water, that's not impressing me. Although it does have a service ceiling of 40,000 feet.
It does.
But I mean, and it doesn't need a runway, and it can hover over water.
Yeah. So again, just to kind of lay it out for you guys, if you're also kind of looking at this, like, okay, they're using the quad ducted fans to do the VTOL component. And we can maybe think that's either electric or maybe driven off the Pratt Whitneys, which probably already have, a separate shaft off there. And then they offload the lifting force, probably with just the shape of the aircraft itself, through forward airspeed using the Pratt Whitneys as thrust, forward thrust. I just noticed too, when you're talking about that the Guardian, which was a significant larger size, is manned. I didn't actually pick up on that pre-show. I don't know. I just missed it. So that's a manned version. Which is cool. Interesting to see. Again, that they're talking about endurance, but also it's manned. So yeah, it's another one of these things where like you wish you could kind of like peel the veil back and see what's going on, because it looks pretty interesting. But yeah.
Okay, it looks like the dark stealth silhouette of eVTOLs, right? It looks like if Darth Vader turned around and said, "I'm going to make an eVTOL and I'm going to compete in the Air Force Works project. That's the one I'm going to choose," right? So that's kind of interesting in and of itself. Past that, though, look. I'm not sure, outside of its crucial, what they call here, the ability to land on water, ice, and or rough terrain, right? So that's basically their big tout here in the middle of this capability section. Look, I don't know if that's enough. Obviously, as a militaristic version, that's good. Do I see something like this having that same capability in the actual marketplace, say that this could make an easy transformation over to the civilian market? No, I think this is purely
Yeah,
utilitarian,
I don't think
right?
so. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think I don't think this has got the same mainstay appeal of, say, like a Jet Up Terra or a Joby or an Archer or a Beta. One of those guys who's got that do-all, can-do capability. Yes, we're using props. Yes, we're a lot slower. We could still add a ground effect hover over water if we had to pluck a man out of the ocean kind of thing. But I don't see this as being anything more than pure utility.
I think if you knew a little bit about, obviously, Chinooks, V-22s, tilt rotor aircraft like that the military already operate, this is kind of squarely aimed at being a better version of those, which makes sense. I mean, it makes sense for what they're trying to use it for, right? It's a VTOL takeoff, but then you've got some good speed, over 700 miles per hour, some pretty good endurance, 15 hours on max fuel, and a good altitude, 40,000 AGL, which I thought was a little bit interesting. They're saying 40,000 AGL, which doesn't tell me much about performance because that's AGL. I mean, okay, it doesn't tell me anything about density. You know what I mean? But hey, whatever. AGL. There you go. Just a thing I noticed as a pilot. 40,000. Okay, AGL. Okay, sure.
Just one of those little pilot things.
Yeah, that's not MSL, but all right, that doesn't tell me anything about performance. But anyway,
we'll see.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
It's something to try to keep track of. But again, this is one of these where maybe you guys let us know in the comments below, because we may not hear much about this ever again. Possibly, it just is what it is. So
but it's obviously designated to win that competition. And look, this obviously we have to mention again. Jet Up Terria is in the same boat as these guys. They did get selected. They've already got some funding on their side from that competition as well. So David is saying here, you guys should be eVTOL pilots one day. Look, it's not that we can't, and the problem is, it's not like I'm surrounded by my own ability. I have my own simulator over here. I have the FPV, DJI, and all that other junk, which I practice on a lot. But it's easy. It'll be easy to be eVTOL pilots. It's not going to be very difficult, I don't think. Depending on the type and the application would be the biggest thing.
I think it's I mean, I am interested to see, if that was the thing we could get into, David, if you know somebody, hey. But that being said, we know that at least eVTOLs are kind of they want to go unmanned. That's a whole nother conversation we've talked about a bunch of times.
Well, actually, I want to add on that for a minute. So, hey, folks, we get a chance, like, subscribe, follow. Let us know in the comments below what you think about the Valkyrie, the Eagle, and the Guardian, and which side you think might be the winner. But just to address what David's saying, look, they have to be partially unmanned because, these are 4-seater aircraft, and if you have to throw a pilot in there in order for the, operations, you've lost a paying customer seat. Right, so that's a real tough place to be, where you're talking limited seat numbers in these aircraft, and they're still expected to produce profit, right? So they're really going to try to get the pilots out, I think, ASAP. But I think for their initial certification and their type certificate, I think they're going to be required to have a pilot on board.
I do as well. Yep. I think there might be, but you're probably going test pilots that have been helping develop the platform through the company itself. So, I mean, David, we'll see, but yeah.
So look, and just to give you an example, right? One of the prime places where you might want to implement one of these is if you're going to turn around and fly this in the New York area, say from the downtown heliports to, say, the Hamptons, right? And a 205-mile-an-hour speed is going to give you roughly a 20-minute to 30-minute advanced arrival time over, say, the nearest S-76, depending on your ability to fly, and on any given day. And I think that opens that window for 3 people on board, quick flight, not a lot of junk on board, and running this thing back and forth. I think that's your moneymaker, right? Or Florida, going say from Jacksonville to MCO, or MCO down to maybe Miami, something of that nature, making those quick runs. Because Corey's going to really talk about what there's another competitor up to at this point. Anyhow, David had one more comment. There's lots of Kobe Bryant fans out there. No one is going to just hop in these things. It's going to take some time.
I mean,
look,
you're not wrong, but
we have stated before that 140 knot speed, it makes a big difference in comfort and ride and how you feel safe. And that's your perceptions on that one, Corey. I don't know. You add.
Yeah, I mean, to close out my thoughts on that eVTOL thing is there's a lot of facets to that. upcoming market segment we've talked about, whether it's where they're going to go, the neighborhood, how they're going to power them and all that. But withstanding all that, we're talking about people transport of passengers. And again, as David, you talk about, if people don't want to get on board for whatever reason, they're not going to get on board. Then there might be, you could maybe say, oh, well, we'll go cargo, sure, but then they don't carry as much. So you might as well just get a King Air or something that you can carry more stuff and still do about the same hop, and it's already proven tech and, done. So it'll lead to be seen how these companies, as they develop eVTOLs, how they really market to the people. How are we going to get the people on board, not just all the tech, all the certifications, all the regulations,
Yeah.
So
agreed. All right, we've got to move on.
And then make it, of course, cheap enough.
Yeah, that's the last part. Yeah, make it cheap enough, right? Better, faster, cheaper. All right. And on that same note, we're going to touch on a favorite subject here about someone taking flight over the Bay Area. So Corey can take flight with that one.
Sure.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Cool. Yes, this next one comes to us from TechCrunch. There's a few places to find it, but just found it here. It's Joby Aviation is going to be conducting some eVTOL test flights over the San Francisco Bay Area. So TechCrunch has obtained the documents from the SEC, so they know that this has been something that Joby's trying to set up. We will just say that it's going to be a public test of their platform, full size platform, which we know Joby's been doing a lot of tests before, whether it's the speed, the 205, or other things. But this is something that'll be done. People will know ahead of time. It's a public place. It's going to be over water. Some interesting facets of that test, but it's still going to be unmanned. And as Joby themselves have mentioned, it's really another test along the way of the remote system to control the vehicle, to help it along with the certification towards FAA certification. So it's going to be something cool to keep track of. We've seen Joby doing stuff in the news lately, but this will be, public, like live public. I'm sure people will be covering it public and live. So we'll be keeping track of this to bring it to you guys as well.
For sure.
So, what do you think, man?
They've been touting now that they've been above 7,000 feet MSL, and they're going to try this over water ice. They've had 562 successful flights right now, and 17 of those missions have been over 20 minutes. What's their route strategy over water? And I literally mean, what's their route strategy over water? Having flown the Gulf of Mexico, Bell 407, one of the biggest fears I ever had flying was an engine out over water with no safe landing spots. And a quick egress from the aircraft is the only thing that's going to save your life if the floats don't pop or the vehicle doesn't stay upright. And personally, that's a challenge. Over water flight security and how people are going to feel inside this aircraft, right? Going to be the difference between success or failure. They're picking a great environment, especially in the tech-rich areas of San Francisco, and the people that want to see this make money are going to this is going to be the high visibility that they want. But this thing's got to go off without a hitch. They've got to be able to plan this thing out properly, number one. Number two, when you get into these environments, when you're flying over bays, got to remember, now you're also going to see that, hey, how's this thing perform over a bay? How's this thing perform in high humidity areas? How does it actually perform in the fog or possibly in ice?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to say exactly that. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say exactly that. With some more public tests, are they going to have, like, again, as you say, fog rolls in, some weather that's not really that great? Are they going to scrub the test? And how is that going to be perceived? People are going to want to watch the test, obviously. And if the weather is poor and visibility is poor, are they going to just scrub it for whatever reason? We would like to think that they'll be able to operate in inclement weather, but the test, at least they're not saying that's what the test is for. And of course, it's to generate some public more interest on it. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle a taste of real world ops. And I don't mean that they haven't been flying the vehicle. I mean real world in the sense that it's public, it's in view. Things don't always go as planned with aviation, whether it's just weather itself, weather decides what it wants to do, and how are you going to handle that? And what's the perception going to be?
Well, we already said that the perception is they want to build on their record of speed, 205 miles an hour, which we know that we also know for a fact there's other companies out there that are going to be in this marketplace, not now, but in the future, that will crush that speed by triple and with that same ability to hover, number one. But here's the other part. These guys S-packed at 1.1 billion, and they've already seen their slide by over 50%. They need some high value eyeballs on this to recoup some of that investment money that has been laid out already on basically something that hasn't produced a measurable dollar of profit yet, right? Everything's still hypothetical. Right. They've still got to get past these, hey, can we really make money with it, right? I'll give them this. They're ahead of the Archers. They're ahead of the Betas. They're ahead of some of these other popular players. Even Lilium. Lilium's catching up pretty quick, but they're ahead for now. But now here's the thing. I've always said it, and I'll say it again. They still got to find a way to make money with it. And that's where this is really aiming at the dog and pony show to appease the investors and attract those eyeballs of people that want to be future customers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. For certain. I'm interested to see how it goes as well. One thing I did want to mention that I forgot to say as well is it appears that the documents say that the overall flights may go up to 1 hour in duration. So that's a bit interesting. It's because we know if we look at some other people that have done testing, whether it's EHang overseas in Asia or other places, they've been like these shorter hops. Right. And if Joby comes through and it does a pretty good speed, 200 miles per hour over the bay, and maybe goes somewhere and the whole thing's an hour long flying around, hey, I mean, win for them. So
well, yeah, and you mentioned Volocopter's also done the same thing. That they've been doing their demonstrations. Yep. So this is it. Lilium will win. That's coming in from David Cummings. We know that you're a big fan. Okay, look, as I see it right now, I have to say, someone else out there said a while back ago that Archer is basically the vaporware of this entire thing, and I have to say they have been so quiet outside of a Supercar Blondie launch of the actual aircraft a few months ago. It's been cricket world, and I'm beginning to believe that is part of this whole thing. Now, let me say this, because David said is that this year the flying car. We're never going to have the flying car. I'm convinced we're never going to have the flying car. We're going to have a flying leasable taxi service, but you as an individual ever having an actual in your hand pleasure vehicle that you can fly from point A to point B and have an FAA rating that allows you to do such with no nannies involved, and I do say no nannies, is a fallacy at this point, because you're at the precipice of it, but it's just too complex of a system that we're going to see, at least in my lifetime.
I would agree with that, exactly as you said it, only if automation never becomes a thing that is completely reliable upon and the FAA signs off on it. If automation always has a hitch and they're never sure that whatever vehicle it's applied to is going to be able to take off and do everything by itself with not a trained and competent, valid pilot, certificated pilot on board, then you're right. Flying cars will never be a thing because they won't sign off on it. But if automation comes through, and that's a huge if, right? I mean,
well, here's the thing, right?
I agree.
The problem is, and if automation proves to be so good, guess what? You'll have flying cars. You'll never control it.
It'll be, that's where I'm going. Is if they do come, then maybe you're gonna own the car. You'll pull it out of your driveway, and then you just push a button and wait. Because you won't be doing anything. So yeah. All
right, folks. There's a lot more to talk about in this subject, and we hammered the eVTOLs here because it's an active and lively discussion. However, fruition, this is it, man. They're getting close now. We're getting close to this being a doable deal. So interesting. I'm excited. I want to see it happen.
Yep. So thanks so much for hanging out with us for the Joby thing. Please like, share, subscribe. It always helps us out as we cover more, obviously, aviation and car and tech stuff for you guys. So we appreciate all the help. And thanks so much. And join us. Hit the bell down there. You guys know the drill.
Hit the bell. So. All right. Did you guys see the Jetson one? Yeah, we actually did. We did a video with the Jetson one, and it's impressive, but it's an ATV of basically backyard flying. I don't think you're ever getting that thing over 300 feet or 200 feet for that matter, and you're just going to be basically a land speeder. I think that's what I think they're really going after on that Jetson one. Great, it's a great alternative to, say, a jet ski, snowmobile / hang glider / gyrocopter. That you're not going to fly. Yeah. You're not going to take it from point A to point B. You got a 20-minute range. You're just going to blast around your backyard.
Yeah, it's not actually transport. It's more like it's fun, as you said. A recreational vehicle, not an RV, but a you know what I call it. 4-wheelers. Yeah,
like a quad, like a
4-wheelers,
like an ATV.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like an air ATV. Yeah,
Well,
something like
yeah.
that. So, just don't fly it
Yeah.
into actual terrain, right? Air terrain vehicle. It doesn't even mix. It'd be very bad. It'd be like the CFIT special. Control flight into terrain special. I'm gonna stop now. All right. Hey, this next one, we're sticking with the aviation theme tonight because I need to butcher more names. Yeah,
Oh, good. Okay,
perfect.
cool.
Let me get this one keyed up for you folks because this one comes to us from, of all places, New Atlas, and one of our favorite places to hit up. And we're going to talk quickly about the Nautilus freight drone with the blended wing design. Packs 60% more cargo, and that's because it's essentially just a big wide body aircraft here. Interesting design. It's got it's cheap and it's nice, and we're going to play a quick video here. Just so you guys can take a look at it. This is direct from their website here at the Nautilus, folks. We're going to just key this bad boy up. You guys can take a look at it with us. And you can see the future of today, is what they say. Should be real interesting. So here you go for the Nautilus. From Volatus? Something.
Sure.
All right, so these guys look like they're end-to-end solutions on everything drone and cargo based. So Corey, what's your thoughts?
Yeah. So, so first off, this another company I hadn't noticed before, but I am a fan of flying wing designs. This isn't quite pure flying wing, but definitely blended wing design, and I mean pleasing to the eye, at least for me. They got pusher props. I don't know, I'm kind of a fan for pusher props, but it is a cargo drone, so this isn't, they're not talking about passenger flying, but nevertheless it is interesting to see a company kind of moving forward again with this kind of design, and again really kind of targeting the cargo side, and it is interesting also to see, as you mentioned, that they're at end to end. They have other solutions, not just this bigger cargo drone, but other drones that maybe they'll see, they'd have the whole supply chain in a sense once it's packed and ready to go. So pretty interesting. Obviously they're hitting the reduction in carbon emissions, which obviously all the aviation is conscious of right about now. So yeah, I don't know. I like it.
I do.
What do you
With
think,
the
man?
size, and this comes directly from the article, what we're talking about here. With the size, they're saying that the N3.8T will be the first cab off the rank for a startup. So it's going to be this is the first design that they're going to go with 19,000 pounds, of range and a range of 1,035 miles, which is great. Those are two massive numbers. All right. And carrying payloads of 8,500 pounds. Now, for a blended wing aircraft, wide body, that is truly unique. And they have a vested interest in making this all work together in symbiosis with their other, obviously, products that they're looking at. Because on the website here, which is really cool, which I just actually realized, they're going to scale this, right? This is a scalable design that they are looking forward to bringing out all over the place. Because if their initial infrastructure one here, you look at this infrastructure picture, that looks very small compared to what's existing in infrastructure today, comparatively, right? But this other model here looks way bigger than that one. It's got a different tail design. It's a much wider. So when we look at this, which is being the design of the 3.8T, that's the smaller one. But cruising speed at 220 and a 900 nautical mile range, 3.4 metric tons. Very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting design. Nothing, not revolutionary. I mean, there's been other things that kind of looked like this before. I remember there was an aircraft like this that was supposed to be a passenger plane, and it was going to carry like 800 seats, something crazy. But it was one of this kind of shape, just because you do get so much more volume, internal volume, and it's if you design it in such a way it's all a lifting body, then win-win.
Yeah.
So
And look, I mean, when we get into this marketplace, right? I haven't seen a lot of people like literally target the cargo space. But in the future, I think cargo plays a much bigger role in actually replacing overland solutions if you can make the right market jump in the right distance, right? You would think that 900 miles nautical range wouldn't be enough because you're talking about like global hauls like a 747 800, something like that. You want big long hauls. But these guys are talking about, short hop overland delivery. It's really an ingenious idea when you think about the fact that at this dollar per penny or dollar per mile, kind of transport costs, wide body's the way to go. Really smart.
Oh, it was Airbus.
Airbus, which one?
It was back in 2020. Airbus revealed they called it the Maverick blended wing design. It looks very similar.
Why not imitate?
But I mean, it is the design. It is the design. But
what was the name of that one?
It's the Airbus. Just look up Airbus
Oh my
blended
lord,
wing airliner.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Can someone say lawsuit?
I mean, it's very like amazingly similar. I mean, aerodynamics at some point would lend you to think, okay, it's going to look quite similar anyway. But yeah, but like I said, I'd seen something about, but an airliner, the Airbus there was talking about, people transport.
Yeah, well, that's real interesting. That thing's got yes. Does an A320 look like a 737? Yes. I mean, do all of them basically look the same?
Plane,
sure.
But
even the Tupolovs all look the same almost at this point. So there's not really much innovation there, except for a small variance on design. But look, it's got to make money, right? They still got to make money, and going wider is the next. If you can get the whole fuselage to be primarily or at least nearly a lifting source, that's huge, right? No more window seats. I don't know how people are going to feel about that.
Well, they even say it right in here. They talk about whether the flight operations warrant this thing to be calling for a human pilot or not. They offering extreme flexibility and solutions for pilot shortages, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, that always brings me right back to something to talk about. Is it it relies on pre-run automation. So that's part of the certification process, obviously. That being the case, right, you can take off other things. You don't have to have all the creature comforts that you would require to have a human pilot on board. So that definitely helps out with cargo capacity and profit. And
you don't need a bathroom,
but no, you don't need facilities and etc. But depending on what you're carrying, no life support. But I mean, depending on what you're carrying, of course. But nevertheless, interesting.
Very interesting. Very cool. And it's no secret that if the FAA is really going to attack getting pilots out of the cockpit, the first place they're going is cargo, because that's their choice. And they've already said that if there was going to be an adaptation of a system where they'd go from a 2-pilot system to a single pilot system, cargo's the place they want to implement it first. So to make a one step in the other direction and basically say, well, get rid of the pilot altogether and just make it an unmanned cargo ship. That you're looking right at it.
Yep. Prove it works there, and then once people are like, yeah, been working for 2 years, 3 years, then put in airliners.
All right, folks, let us know what you think in the comments below, whether this is the way to go, the blended wing design, if it's actually going to be the future of aviation, if it's going to help out the cargo carriers, and lastly, what do you think about unmanned cargo flights on this duration of type of flight? Let us know in the comments below. We'll be interested to hear from you guys. So with that, we have one last thing to discuss, which we basically said it's just open discussion, and I'll let Corey just kind of take this one out into the field, because heck, we are talking about what crashing a space station.
Or letting it degrade. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ready? Cool. So this next one comes to us from CNN, but it's talking about the NASA planning to retire the ISS, the International Space Station. And so, but what does retiring a space station really look like? Well, with other space junk or things that is deemed space junk, you can kind of let it slow down in orbit. And once things slow down in orbit enough, they lose altitude and they crash into Earth. That's how orbit works. So they're talking basically about that they're looking the ISS to kind of crash down in 2031 sometime. They have general place picked out where they've dumped some other space junk before. The space graveyard. I know Mike will talk about the space graveyard. But this shouldn't come as a huge surprise. They've been talking about what the lifetime of the ISS is for a while, and we've got a lot of good use out of the ISS. Obviously, it was a collaboration between multiple countries, and it's been good. But it's not going to last forever, and 2031 is the newest date of letting it expire. I guess
well, it's
going
to be like Finding Nemo, because they're going to crash it in this place called Point Nemo, which is in the South Pacific. It's uninhabited, right? And there's apparently, it's going to have friends, because there's 263 other deorbited spacecraft in that same area. I wonder if it glows at night. Just curiously. Because there might be some stuff that still has, I don't know, like a little bit of powerful stuff on it. Who knows? It's been up in space. That's been powering it for a long time, other than batteries. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, other than solar panels, yeah.
But hey, it's kind of sad though, because I traditionally, if you remember growing up, there was Skylab. Skylab's gone, right? Russia lost their space station. What was it, about 4 years ago? Was it 4 or 3 years? Was it even 2 years ago?
I don't recall, but
right, theirs is gone. I'm correct in that, right?
I have to look it up, to be honest. I don't remember the exact date. Mir,
yeah,
came down in 2001.
Here's I'm way off. Okay, so Mir's been gone for a while, and
been gone for a while. Yeah.
And look, if we're gonna commercialize space, this is the next step. We got to get new stuff up there, right?
It's true.
The other part after this is, let's hope it comes down in one big piece, and then it's going to be an easy deorbit. And the worst part is, I guess, it's really fun to watch them go up into space. I'd really like to see one come down out of space in a heaping ball of molten junk.
Yes, I also the ISS has been very, very valuable. I'm certainly will be a bit sad to see it go, but I mean, if it's going to go again, we do need new stuff eventually. But it would be something interesting to see on tape. I would hope somebody will be close enough that they can see it coming down, because it should be interesting, not just to just watch something burn up as it comes down, but also to make sure it all goes to plan, and ends up where they hoped it would end up. That being exactly said, tail on the end of that, though, we mentioned something new should be going up. And actually, NASA is working on the Commercial Space Station Low Earth Orbit Destinations Program. And just to kind of dovetail that in there, and some other bunch of companies have bid on that. There's, I think, 11 bids that NASA had go through, and they think had 9 actual valid bids. People like Blue Origin, Northrop Grumman, SpaceX, names you would recognize. But that's still going on, and it makes sense that the NASA has been going that way of having the private sector help out with a lot of the things that NASA typically did in the past, and NASA kind of reframes what their goals are. So interesting to see what those private companies come up with, and of course where we maybe we'll have multiple stations up there at some point.
That'd be cool. Sorry to burst your bubble here, but it's going to actually deorbit 3,000 miles off the coast of New Zealand and 2,000 miles north of Antarctica. So the odds of actually someone getting a good video on it, probably slim. Now,
right. I was thinking somebody will probably be getting out there.
Well, I would hope, number one. Number two, interesting thing, I've actually seen the shuttle deorbit before. I was in Dallas, Texas, standing in my parking lot one night, and I actually saw it deorbit, and it was miraculous in the fact that I'd never seen anything like it before. Launches are cool. Deorbits are actually almost a little bit cooler, because it was glowing red hot. You could see it leaving a stream of smoke across the sky as it was bouncing itself through the atmosphere. Here's the thing, right? We're also talking about the new frontier and how we really need to make that venture, and especially Elon Musk is talking about going to Mars one day. And they said that there is, at the last stage for this mission of the ISS, it's going to be an analog for Mars transitions missions. I don't know what that means. Okay. So there's going to be some sort of thing it's going to have in this relationship, but let's see what happens in that. I don't know what that basically means. Who knows?
Yep. Okay. Cool. Yeah, we'll keep track of that and see. I mean, that being said, as far as the ISS going away and it being a multi-country endeavor, other countries are going to put their own stations up. Russia's already planning to leave the ISS in 2025. They're going to put their own station up, but they plan to. We know China. I think China's already got another module up already, so they're starting that, and of course private companies. So it's going to be interesting up there. Maybe getting a bit busy, busier than it already is. There's a bunch of stuff up there. So
right. No, I agree. It's funny. Yeah. My very first launch when I came here to the Space Coast, I have a video, and there's somebody on the video actually as it lifts off saying, "Look at all them tax dollars." Well, it'd be interesting to see it coming back the other way. Like, look at all them tax. Like,
look at all them Amazon deliveries.
Oh yeah. Anyhow. All right, folks, that's all we got time. Like, subscribe, follow. Let us know what you think about the deorbit of the space station coming up in 2031, something like that. And
2031.
If Finding Nemo is going to be any fun when it goes under the water, if somebody's going to go actually try to look for it. So, hey, that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I'm good.
Awesome, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate all the comments once again, and we'll look forward to seeing you next Thursday. Take care. Have a great night.
Take it easy.
Have a good night, folks. Bye-bye. Later. Bye-bye. Hey, guess what? We actually have an outro this time because the stream didn't cut out.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, bye.
Later, folks. See ya next week. Bye.